Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the public hearing of January 19th, 2023 in the City of Vancouver. I will now call the public hearing to order and advise that this council meeting is being convened by electronic means as authorized under Part 14 of the Procedure Bylaw, the City of Vancouver Electronic Meetings. And as such, council members and members of the public may participate in person or by electronic means. If a council member attending by electronic means does lose connection during the voting process, team members are available to get you back online quickly while the voting process will be suspended. And the IT contact information has been circulated to you. A reminder that video of council members speaking, presentations, and vote results will be projected on the live stream as available. Council members who are participating virtually are reminded that in accordance with Section 14 of the Procedure Bylaw, members must enable your video to confirm quorum. Any council member whose video is disabled will be marked absent for that portion of the meeting. Members of the public can view the proceedings via the live stream or the City of Vancouver's YouTube link, which will be tweeted out by @VanCityClerk. I'd like to acknowledge we are on the unceded territories and homelands of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh people, and we thank them for having cared for this land and look forward to continuing to work with them in partnership as we build this great city together. And lastly, I'd like to take a moment to recognize the immense contributions of the City of Vancouver's team members who work hard every day to make our city an incredible place to live, work, and play. And Clerk, with that, can we have the roll call, please?
Deputy Mayor Kirby-Yung in the chair. Mayor Sim, not here. Councillor Carr.
Present.
Councillor Dominato. Councillor Bly. Councillor Boyle.
Present.
Councillor Fry. Not here. Councillor Montague. Councillor Klassen.
Here.
Councillor Meisner.
Present.
Councillor Joe. Present. You have quorum, Deputy Mayor Kirby-Yung.
Thank you very much. So before we begin, I do have some announcements. The public may participate by speaking over the phone, submitting written comments to council, or in person. Speakers will have 5 minutes to make your comments and should limit those to the merits of the report under consideration. Speakers should also state whether you are in support or opposed to the recommendations and if you are a resident of Vancouver. Speakers may only speak once and should follow along at VanCityClerk on Twitter for updates on the progress of the meeting so you do not miss your turn to speak. And a reminder, any comments on agenda items can be submitted in writing through our online web form at vancouver.ca/public-hearing-comments. Those that are speaking on behalf of other persons or groups will have 8 minutes to speak, and only those being represented must confirm they are also on the line or in person and must not be speakers themselves. I do want to note the City of Vancouver's longstanding commitment to equity, diversity, and inclusion, including the utmost respect for all genders. I remind Council that when addressing speakers and staff, we will avoid using gendered honorifics and instead refer to the person by first name and last name, role, or title. A reminder that Council's role at this public hearing is to be a quasi-judicial body, which means that Council is only to consider the merits of the rezoning application or heritage designation. Council members may ask clarifying questions from speakers, including the applicant, or technical advice from staff, but should save debate for after the close of the speakers list. After hearing from speakers, Council may elect to 1, approve the application in principle, 2, refuse the application, or 3, refer that application to staff for further consideration. And finally, if Council does not adjourn this public hearing, we will recess and does not complete, I should say, this public hearing, we will recess and reconvene the meeting on January 24th at 6 p.m. here in Council Chambers. So with that said, our first item of business is CD1 rezoning 3575-3655 Castle Street and 3580-3644 Slocan Street and 2755 East 21st Avenue. Does any member of council at this point wish to declare a conflict of interest? Okay, seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to read the application and the summary of correspondence received.
It's an application by the Provincial Health Service Authority to rezone 3575 to 3655 Castle Street, 3580-3644 Slocan Street, and 2755 East 21st Avenue from RS1 Residential District to CD1 Comprehensive Development District to permit the development of a 3-story BC Children's Hospital Complex Care Transition Facility and a single-story 74-space childcare facility, a height of 16.5 meter for the complex care facility, and a height of 5.5 meter for the childcare facility are proposed, along with a total floor space ratio of 0.7. General Manager of Planning, Urban Design, and Sustainability recommends approval, subject to conditions set out in the summary and recommendation. The following correspondence has been received since referral to public hearing. 21 pieces of correspondence support, 3 pieces of correspondence opposition, and 1 piece of correspondence dealing with other aspects of the application. This represents all correspondence received up to 5 p.m. today.
Thank you very much. So any speakers for this item who do wish to speak to council, an advisory that the number to call is toll-free 1-8333-353-8610, followed by participant code 106-1445 pound before the close of the speakers list. This phone number will be tweeted out and made available on the live stream. There will also be opportunity for those on the phone or in person to speak at the end of the registered speakers list. So without further ado, we now have Tiffany Rougeau. Getting a smile, so I think I got that right. Rezoning planner here to present the application. If you'd like to go ahead when you're ready.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Tiffany Rougeau, and I'm the rezoning planner for this application. The rezoning application is being considered under the Renfrew Collingwood Community Vision. The site, shown in red, is located within an RS1 zoned area and fronts Slocan Street, East 21st Avenue, and Caslow Street. The site area is just under 7 acres in size and has a significant slope with the highest point at East 21st Avenue. Buildings cover the southern half and northeast area of the site. The remaining area is occupied by numerous trees, including a mature grove of trees in the northwest quadrant of the site. To the east, south, and west of the site are detached houses. Directly north of the site is a parcel zoned CD1 with institutional programs run by the Children's Foundation. This site is an extension of healthcare services provided by BC Children's Hospital.
Sorry, could you just pause for a moment. It looks like we had some feedback. Do we know what that was, staff?
Councillor Carr,
I cannot hear anything from chambers,
thank you.
including.
Councillor Carr, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Tina.
I think they can't hear us, so I am messaging them right now. Just
Thank
hang
you.
on. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll just ask everybody to pause for a moment and we'll just see if we can identify this issue quickly.
Councillor Carr, can you hear us in the chamber?
I can hear you right now, but I only caught the first few words of the intro by staff, and then it went blank.
Okay.
Let me know if you want me to test the mic.
Okay. I'm going to suggest we start the presentation again, but maybe I'll just ask our planner to just say a couple words from your mic and see if that's I'm hearing myself an echo.
Sure. This is item number 1 for public hearing on January 19th.
It sounds like we're getting feedback.
Point of privilege, you are echoing, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Carr. We're just going to look into that. Staff, would you like to take a few minutes recess? Councillor Carr, are you hearing an echo when I speak?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to suggest we take a 5-minute recess just to sort this out. And so let's reconvene at 6:19. Sorry.
Terry, are you on the line on Talus? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but it's really echoey.
It's still echoing. Okay.
Yeah.
So they're still echoing. Okay. Hi Terry, can we do another sound check real quick? Is the
Yeah, that
echo,
sounds a lot better.
is the echo getting better?
Way better.
Wait,
That's it. So no WebEx on the screen. That's the thing.
but then we can't share.
So how the way to get rid of the echo is to not run WebEx on the clerk's computer. That's what's causing the echo. As soon as we turned off WebEx on the clerk's computer, the echo stopped.
Was it on?
Or-
Was it on something? Or was it on like?
No, it shows as muted. So, no
Like
WebEx.
if
Just looking at all the other options here.
it's actually coming through the stream now, so just passing to put it on
Can you bring up the WebEx again, please?
On this
On your
computer.
computer, yeah.
Terry is saying you don't need to be on WebEx. Terry's just sending a jab. You don't need to be on.
Okay, but let me just.
You're not allowed to have breaks in council anymore.
Hi Terry, is it getting better now?
Yeah, it was good the last time too.
Okay, so
I think we got it. We got how.
Welcome back. I believe we are ready to proceed. So we are going to commence with item 1 on our agenda tonight. And I will repeat the CD1 rezoning for 3575, 3655 Castle Street, 3580.
A point of privilege. I cannot hear the chair speaking. I see her mouth moving. I cannot hear her.
Just bear with us one moment, please, Councillor Carr. Oh, she can't hear that.
I'm hoping I'm not interrupting the meeting. This is Tina, Councillor Boyle, and Carr. I'm coming up on the screen.
Councillor Carr, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, can everyone hear me now? Yes. All right. Okay, we are going, good? Okay. We are going to commence with item 1 on our agenda tonight, CD1 rezoning, 3575-3655 Caslow Street, 3580-3644 Slocan Street, and 2755 East 21st Avenue. And I will ask, does any member of council wish to declare a conflict of interest on this item? Seeing none, the clerk will now read the application and the summary of correspondence received.
It's an application by the Provincial Health Service Authority to rezone 3575 to 3655 Castle Street, 3580 to 3644 Slocan Street, and 2755 East 21st Avenue from RS1 Residential District to CD1 Comprehensive Development District to permit the development of a 3-story BC Children's Hospital Complex Care Transition Facility and a single-story 75-space childcare facility, a height of 16.5 meter for the complex care facility and a height of 5.5 meter for the childcare facility are proposed. Along with a total floor space ratio of 0.7, the General Manager of Planning, Urban Design and Sustainability recommends approval subject to conditions set out in the summary and recommendation. The following correspondence has been received since referred to public hearing: 21 pieces of correspondence in support, 3 pieces of correspondence opposition, and 1 piece of correspondence dealing with other aspects of the application. This represents all correspondence received up to 5 p.m. today.
Thank you very much. So any speakers for this item who do wish to speak to council, please call toll-free 1-833-353-8610, followed by participant code 106-1445# before the close of the speakers list. The phone number will be tweeted out and made available on the live stream. There will be opportunity for those on the phone or in person to speak at the end of the registered speakers list. We now have Tiffany Rougeau, rezoning planner, here to present the application. Please go ahead.
Thank you. I'd just like to test the mic as I set up the presentation.
We're still clear.
Great. Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Tiffany Rougeau, and I'm the rezoning planner for this application. The rezoning application is being considered under the Renfrew Collingwood Community Vision. The site, shown in red, is located within an RS1 zoned area and fronts Slocan Street, East 21st Avenue, and Caslow Street. The site area is just under 7 acres in size and has a significant slope with the highest point at East 21st Avenue. Buildings cover the southern half and northeast area of the site. The remaining area is occupied by numerous trees, including a mature grove of trees in the northwest quadrant of the site. To the east, south, and west of the site are detached houses. Directly north of the site is a parcel zone CD1 with institutional programs run by the Children's Foundation. This site is an extension of healthcare services provided by BC Children's Hospital and is currently developed with institutional buildings including the Children's Speech and Hearing Centre of BC, the Annex and Hartman buildings, and the former Sunny Hill Health Centre. This property has a long history of being home to healthcare facilities for children. In 1931, the Vancouver Preventorium for Children with Tuberculosis opened here and operated until the 1950s when it became a pediatric chronic care facility. The site underwent many institutional transformations, eventually becoming the Sunny Hill Health Centre for children across the province. Sunny Hill's move from this location to the BC Children's Hospital Oak Street campus in August of 2020 provides an opportunity to redevelop and expand services on this site and continue the legacy of providing care for children and youth. The site is served by transit, located 800 meters from Nanaimo SkyTrain station and connected to bus service along Nanaimo, Renfrew, and East 22nd Avenue. As noted in the map, there are nearby schools, community centers, and other amenities within walking distance. This application is being considered under the Renfrew Collingwood Community Vision, adopted in 2004, which provides direction on a range of issues including transportation, community services, housing, and parks. This vision supports the consideration of rezoning for institutional uses which focus on the expansion, downsizing, or reuse of publicly owned or nonprofit institutional or public authority uses. As the site is over 2 acres in size, it also triggers the rezoning policy for sustainable large developments. The policy sets out criteria that large sites must demonstrate how the proposal will achieve the city's sustainability goals through a variety of different subject areas, including site design, food systems, green mobility, zero waste planning, and more. These strategies have all been included in this rezoning application. The application from Provincial Health Services Authority proposes a 3-story BC Children's Hospital complex care transition facility for children and youth. This proposal is consistent with uses supported in the community vision and the site's historical use. The new building would replace the previous Sunny Hill Health Center. The application also proposes a publicly funded 74-space childcare facility, which will be retained by the owner and is expected to be run by a nonprofit childcare operator. The maximum density permitted under the existing RS1 zoning is 0.7 FSR. While the application proposes a density of 0.62 FSR, staff recommend an overall density of 0.7 FSR for the site to ensure consistency with the density permitted under the prevailing RS1 zoning in this area. This would also allow future additions to the property through the development permit process. A building height of 54 feet is proposed, and vehicle and bicycle parking will be located underground, accessed from Slocan Street. 3 existing buildings will remain on site: the Hartman Building, Annex Building, and the Children's Speech and Hearing Center of BC. The childcare facility and complex care building footprints and vehicle access point from Slocan have been carefully positioned to limit impact on the mature on-site trees. The proposed complex care transition facility will be unique to Canada and offers an opportunity to advance care for children and youth living with complex health needs. A virtual open house was held for this proposal from March 28th to April 17th, 2022 on the Shape Your City platform. Public input was received throughout the application process through online questions and comment forms. Throughout the application process, a total of 50 comment forms or questions were received. Overall feedback included vast support for the provision of healthcare services for children and youth. Comments of support also included the addition of childcare spaces and planned retention of and addition of more green spaces to the site. Concerns raised through the process generally related to parking availability and traffic. A detailed summary of public feedback is included in Appendix D of the Council report. The application proposes delivery of an on-site childcare facility which will be run by a nonprofit operator. Per the CAC policy, the application is subject to the CAC target for institutional developments. However, as the rezoning proposes no increase in allowable floor area, no CAC contribution is required. This proposal will contribute approximately $3 million in development cost levies, and a contribution to the public art program is estimated at $263,000. In conclusion, this application meets the intent of the Renfrew Collingwood Community Vision. The application proposes to expand the existing healthcare services for children and youth on this site through a new complex care transition facility and new childcare spaces. Staff conclude that the proposed form of development is an appropriate urban design response to the site and its context, and that the application is consistent with existing land use and programming of the site. Staff support this application subject to the conditions outlined in Appendix B. Staff and the applicant team are available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Is the applicant team here to speak to this application at this time? Do you wish to make any remarks?
Magic. Good evening. My name is Scott Fraser-Dauphiny, Senior Director for Major Capital Projects with BC Children's Hospital and Provincial Health Services Authority. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today. Wish to acknowledge with gratitude that we're gathered on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations who have cared for these lands and waters for all time. As a project team, we're working closely with Indigenous partners on the design of this facility, and we're prioritizing Indigenous cultural safety in the programming. Through this redevelopment, BC Children's and PHSA will deliver a center and clinical program that will support children and youth living with health complexity and their families throughout BC and Yukon. While there are programs serving this population in jurisdictions across Canada and around the world, there are very few that provide comprehensive programming in a purpose-built facility. Thus, BC Children's and PHSA are looking to be leaders, both in Canada and internationally, in improving experiences and outcomes for this population. We're working closely with key groups, especially families and caregivers, clinical and operational staff at BC Children's, Indigenous partners, and service providers across various sectors. There are thousands of children and youth across BC and Yukon who require significant support to live and function throughout the day. This is a growing population because advances in medical technology are enabling more children with health complexity to live longer. These children and youth generally have the following characteristics. They have complex chronic conditions. Many conditions are rare and hard to diagnose. They have serious functional limitations, meaning they need support with activities such as breathing, feeding, sitting, and moving in general. They also require specialized medical care. Parents become round-the-clock caregivers in addition to their usual parenting responsibilities. And lastly, children with health complexity are often heavy users of both the health and social systems. So what you see here is a parent's sketch depicting the incredible amount of programs and services that are necessary for their child's care. I'm not expecting you to be able to read this. The purpose of the drawing is really to show you just how many interactions one child in this population typically has with the healthcare and social systems on a regular basis. This child accesses more than 9 specialty programs at BC Children's alone, as a speech assistant, music therapist, vision teacher, social worker, just to name a few. The family has had to connect with various nonprofits for assistance to make their home accessible and purchase a vehicle that can fit the child's mobility device. It's currently the parent's job to make sense of and coordinate all these siloed services. This puts enormous stress on the family to manage logistics, tell their story over and over again, and advocate for their child. Quite simply, the system is not set up well for these children and families. And that's what the Slocan Center and program hopes to address. I'll skip over this slide in the interest of time, but it outlines 6 key goals we hope to achieve. The new center will improve the quality of life and well-being of these children and their families by offering services both in person and virtually. Care coordination will be at the very core of this program. A team of care coordinators will support families with planning care, managing appointments, and accessing services within and outside the health system. Staff will teach families and caregivers how to care for their children at home. This could include training them to use specific equipment and technologies. Staff will also train service providers to support these children in their home communities. By building a team of care around the child, we can minimize unnecessary travel to hospitals. Families will also be able to stay overnight, typically for 1 or 2 weeks, in a welcoming and comfortable environment that doesn't feel like a hospital. These stays will focus on care planning, learning new skills, or adjusting to transitions, such as going from the hospital to home or starting at a new school. We will also have day clinics for assessments, consultations, and counseling appointments. These will be services for the whole family, including parents and siblings. The site at Slocan Street and 21st Avenue has been used for healthcare since 1912. This new center will continue that legacy by providing essential care to a unique and growing group of children in BC and Yukon. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. So at this time, Council has the opportunity to ask questions either to staff or the applicant team. And I do want to remind Council that this is your only opportunity to ask questions specifically of the applicant. So I do see councillors on the queue, beginning with Councillor. Oh, just one second. We're going to switch queues. Okay, councillors, if you can just re-add yourselves to the queue, please. Great. And I have Councillor Carr first. Councillor Carr, go ahead, up to 5 minutes.
Great, thank you. Questions to the applicant team? My first question is, I noticed that there is a condition of approval, well, actually it's in B, Appendix B, talking about green roofs. And it specifies that it would be 50% coverage if it was an extensive green roof and 25% coverage for an intensive green use roof. I wonder if you could describe very briefly what the difference would be in like between intensive and extensive. And I guess if that will incorporate edible landscaping.
Councillor Carr, this is Teresa O'Donnell. The applicant does not have the details of that information right now, but our Tiffany can address the understanding around condition B, or Susan can if you'd like.
Sure.
Thank you for the question. We'll just direct it to our staff and food assets that are attending virtually, so it'll just be one moment.
We can pause Councillor Carr's time. I think just.
Hi, Councillor Carr. This is Caitlin Dorward. I'm a social planner in Arts, Culture, and Community Services and cover food policy. The project is required to provide 3 food assets as a large site, and edible landscaping is one of the food assets that's expected. This particular condition is not actually covered under the food assets conditions, though, so I might refer to another staff if you give us a second here.
Perhaps at the same time, if you could figure out which staff would be able to answer my second question. It might be the same staff, it might not be, but I'm also wondering if you're considering using, or the applicant's considering incorporating solar, either PVC, but in particular solar hot water, which really reduces the costs in heating water, important in a hospital function, especially during the summer and shoulder months.
Good evening, and council. My name is Ryan Din, a development planner. So I can answer the first question regarding the difference between the extensive and intensive green roof. So according to our bulletin, the intensive green roof are the traditional method of providing vegetation on a roof, and usually include raised or inset planters with a substantial depth of soil, which can be used to support a wide range of plant size up to and including trees. And the extensive green roof are usually built up as a series of thin layers which provide a roofing membrane, roof control, drainage, filtration, and a lightweight growing medium, and low growing plants such as mosses and cedars.
Right. Okay. That makes perfect sense to me. Thank you. And the consideration of solar, especially as I say, solar hot water, which on the West Coast here is particularly good. I mean, it's a very good supply during all the summer months.
Councillor Carr, if I could just guide you to stay on questions.
Yeah,
I just want to make sure you have time to get a response.
Yeah, thank you so much for the question, Councillor Carr. We are looking at a number of energy conservation measures as part of the project. To your previous question, we are considering and looking at green roofs, and we are also exploring options around photovoltaics. We are sort of still early in the process and looking at a range of options in that regard. Hopefully that answers your question.
Okay. I thank you. I'm happy to hear you potentially exploring solar voltaics, PVC. Have you contemplated solar hot water?
Not specifically, no.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I would just, yeah. It would be interesting to see if you would be interested in at least exploring the idea, given the cost savings that it might produce for you.
Noted. Thank you.
And
Thank
that's
you.
it. That's it,
for
Councillor
my
Carr?
questions. Yep, it is.
Okay, thank you. Next, Councillor Klassen, go ahead, 5 minutes.
Thanks very much, Chair. And thanks to applicant. It's so nice to see this property continuing the legacy for children's health. I just have a question. I know, and I may have missed it somewhere along the presentation of materials. The location itself is bounded by more residential area. And I'm just sort of thinking of the actual workforce that's going to be working here. Obviously, some will probably be transferred themselves by vehicle, but I'm assuming that there's some consideration to for public transit for some of the healthcare staff that will be working there, and whether any consideration in terms of either lighting or safety, and given that the hours that some of the staff are going to be working.
Thank you.
In surrounding community and surrounding the community, obviously, to get access to public transit.
Great, thank you. I can speak to your first question. PHSA has a number of policies and is very supportive of staff using various modes of transportation, public transit, cycling, walking, etc. And I know there's some incentive programs that PHSA has in place as well. So I will absolutely be a part of the site as the staff are PHSA employees. In terms of lighting, there are some conditions in Appendix B that have been noted, and we'll make sure that we're delivering on those.
Thanks very much. Yeah, just obviously it's a beautiful area with lots. It's very lush, but you would think that some of the sight lines you would want to take into consideration with all the greenery that's around there as well, especially if people, again, kind of coming in at different hours of the day. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
End of my questions.
Thank you, Councillor Klassen. I'm not seeing any other councillors on the queue at this point for questions, so we will now proceed to hear from members of the public. And a reminder that any speakers for this item who wish to speak to council can call toll-free 1-8333-353-8610, followed by participant code 1061445# before the close of the speakers list. And again, the phone number is tweeted out and made available on the live stream. And any speakers that are in the council chamber can come forward to the podium when your name is called. So we do have, we had 4 registered speakers for this item. Speaker number 1 has withdrawn. So we'll go ahead and call speaker number 2, which is Annie Kudian. I'm just ask staff to confirm if we have speakers on the line.
Speaker 2 is not on the line.
Okay, I am going to Annie Kudian, call a second time. Okay, I will proceed on to speakers, and for those councillors that are new to this process and public hearing, we will go back through the end, at the end, and go back through any speakers we may have missed. Okay, I stand corrected on procedure, which is great. So I'll give that a second call, final call for Annie Kudian. Okay, so that's a no for speaker 2. Speaker number 3 is Darlene Shopman. Darlene.
Good evening.
Good evening. We can hear you. You have 5 minutes to provide your comments on this project to council. When you're ready, please go ahead.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Darlene Shopman. I'm living on the traditional and unceded territory of the Stolo and Kwantlen people, which is now called Stave Falls. I'm a resident of Mission, BC, and I am speaking in favor of Item 1, the CD1 rezoning of the Slocan site. I am a mother of a very medically fragile, complex child and represent many other families with medically complex children. I live together with my husband and son. We basically have an ICU, school, and therapy center in our home. Our son, Nolan, who was 10 years old, was born with a very rare metabolic disease. In fact, so rare that he was the first in the world to be diagnosed with this rare disease. Being metabolic in nature, it sadly affects his entire body. We see pretty much every department at BC Children's Hospital. He requires 24/7 care on so many levels. Nursing care, school support, many different therapies, medical procedures, blood work, etc. all happen in our home. Because he is very immune compromised, it is hard to be in public places. If he gets any type of virus, he will be fighting for his life. For this reason, going to the hospital can be very scary, so we try to avoid any unnecessary hospital visits. Some of the other challenging issues we deal with are when life-saving medical equipment breaks down on a weekend, crucial medical supplies being on back order. We need help troubleshooting what to do to prevent unnecessary hospitalization. Nolan's symptoms change quickly. They can be hard to navigate and treat. We are always needing a new set of tools and constant training. As challenging as our lives are, we love having our sweet Nolan at home. He brings us so much joy. We want for him the best quality of life that he deserves. We hope that this first-of-a-kind complex care transition center can help us in many ways. To have a main care coordinator to be the connective tissue for his entire team and this enormous system will be a huge relief to our family. This will save us from having to repeat Nolan's story over and over again to the hundreds of people involved in his care. We hope that the building will offer support to families such as ours, providing the necessary counseling, training, and tools we need to help us feel confident in caring for our children. Caregiving for children with lifelong medical complexities can be a long journey. None of us know what to expect. To have a center like this to help support us with the many transitions our children face can be a strong foundation for our children to thrive. Parents need to wear so many hats. We are doctors, nurses, caregivers, therapists, researchers, managers, and so much more. In my eyes, our children are perfect. It is the system that needs to catch up with their unique needs to allow us to be parents again. The center will benefit so many families in need and for many generations to come. We ask that you move this project forward by approving the rezoning. Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking time to share your comments and your personal experience with council. We really do appreciate it, and you don't have any questions this evening, but thank you for calling in. Thank you. Speaker number 4 is Andrew Reitz. Is this a call?
Hi there.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hi there, Speaker. You have 5 minutes to address council, and please begin when you're ready.
Thank you. Hello, Your Worship and Council. My name is Andrew Ruth. I am a resident of Richmond, and I'm speaking in favor of Item 1, the CD1 rezoning of the Slocan site. I'm the Director of Child and Family Services for the Developmental Disability Association for Vancouver and Richmond, or DDA. We have had a long history in working within this field and supporting children and adults and youth within the communities of Vancouver and Richmond. For 20 years, we've been actually a neighbor within the Castle site as we run the Vancouver Infant Development Program from 3455 Castle Street. This program is unique in regards of a consultation to support children and their families, and we know that many families would benefit greatly from having such a development of a program and facility as what has been presented by the Slocan development team. We were really excited to be engaged by the Slocan development team to look at the development of their plans and the site and the programs that they intended to carry out. We feel that it would highly benefit not only local Vancouver residents, but families throughout the Lower Mainland and the province. We really, as a representative from DDA, I would like to say that we highly support that you move this project forward by approving the rezoning request. Thank you.
Thank you very much for speaking to council. I can hear how passionate you are about the project, and we appreciate you calling in tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you. So that does bring us to the end of the registered speakers list. We do have an opportunity for any speakers to call in, and I'll remind members of the public to do that. You can call toll-free 1-833-353-8610, followed by participant code 1061445#. And again, that number is available online and on the live stream. And I'm not seeing any speakers in the council chambers. I'm going to ask the clerk to confirm if we have any additional speakers on the line at this point.
We have no other speakers on the line.
Okay. Procedure does require me to read this one more time, so it might sound a few more times. This is my favorite part. So I will repeat. If there are any speakers for the item who wish to speak to council, please call toll-free 1-833, say it with me, 353-8610, followed by participant code 1061445# before the close of the speakers list, which is imminent. And again, that number is available on Twitter, and any speakers in chambers can come forward. And I'll do one final call, 1-833-353-8610. Okay, hearing none online, I'm going to suggest that we take a 5-minute recess to provide a final opportunity to see if any calls are received. And we will reconvene at 7:02 p.m. Thanks. Okay, everybody, if you can gather yourselves, we are ready to begin. And we do have one additional speaker on the line, Denise Haskett. Denise, can you hear us?
Denise, you can speak now.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much, Mayor and Council, for taking my call. I just want to share with you that I've lived on Slocan Street near Beaconsfield Park for 20 years, and I can really appreciate the need for a facility such as this for children with health complexities.
Okay, everybody, if you can gather yourselves, we are ready to begin. And we do have... Denise, do you are you listening to the council meeting in the background? Because you will need to turn the volume off if you're listening at the same time.
Yes, can you hear me?
We can hear you now, but just make sure that your audio is off.
You can speak now. You can hear me. Okay. Thank you very much,
Denise,
Mayor
it
and
sounds like
Council, for taking my call.
Denise, it sounds like you have a computer that is playing the council meeting. Can I ask you to mute that?
Near Beaconsfield Park for 20 years, and I can really appreciate the need for a facility such as this for children with health complexities.
Okay, so, everybody, you can gather yourselves. We are ready to... Denise, do we have you now? Sounds like you may have turned off your device. Is that right? The volume off if you're listening at the same time.
Oh, okay.
Can you hear me? We can hear you now, but just make sure that your audio is off.
Okay, I need to turn my audio. Okay, how's that? Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. So,
I see, I can't hear you.
Denise, I'm going to ask you to turn off any device that you have if you're listening to the council meeting on a computer or phone. If you could just turn that off.
Sorry, say that again.
If you have a computer where you're listening to the council meeting at the same time as you're speaking to us.
Hello?
Denise, if you have the volume on your computer, could you please just turn it off?
Okay, should I start over?
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, can you tell me when to start, please?
Yeah, so Denise, this is Councillor Kirby-Young. I'm chairing the meeting. Can you hear me?
You can start now. Thank you.
So I'm just going to begin from the beginning. Thank you very much, Mayor and Council, for taking my call. I've lived on Slocan Street near Beaconsfield Park for 20 years. And although I can really appreciate the need for such a facility for children with complex health needs, I have two concerns about this project. And my first concern is for pedestrian and cyclist safety on Slocan Street, with the significant increase in vehicular traffic that this project would inevitably create in an already very busy and well-used residential neighborhood. Slocan Street between Grandview Highway and 22nd Avenue has seen much more traffic over the last 2 decades, with the increased density in the surrounding area. With Beaconsfield Park, the Italian Cultural Center, and Banana Grove Market, this stretch of Slocan Street is used by many in the neighborhood and beyond, and it is also a designated bike route and used very regularly by cyclists at all times of the day and night. Beaconsfield Park is used consistently throughout the week by both children and adults for soccer, volleyball, and etc., general use for family. And so it is a very busy residential street already with a high volume of traffic. The Italian Cultural Center also brings in a lot of traffic with the activities that they host. And with the new proposed facility, and specifically the entrance on Slocan Street, this would increase that volume on Slocan Street by just exponentially. If you've got 74 daycare spaces and drop-off of kids and picking them up daily, that's 140 cars right there. And because it's on Slocan, which is already a very busy section of this street. So I would like to request that if the project does move forward, that the entrance to the facility be moved to either Caslow or to 21st, as there is currently much less traffic on these two streets. And this would allow people to access the facility from Renfrew, which is already a main artery, and would then, not further congest Slocan, which is so busy. A lot of children use the park at Beaconsfield, and so that's a safety concern. My other concern is simply that I'm really concerned about climate change, and I'm not convinced that the development is really taking into consideration the need that our city has for green spaces. As has already been mentioned, there's these huge, beautiful old trees that are on the existing property. I can't really see that the development would be able to preserve those trees and that green space. And, there's a beautiful diversity of birds and animals that currently live there. And so I just would really like our city to be seriously considering what we need to do to mitigate climate change. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Denise, for taking the time to call into council. You do not have any questions this evening, so I think your remarks were very clear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Clerk's just verifying we don't have any other speakers on the line at this point.
There are no further speakers on the line.
Okay, so seeing as there are no additional speakers, the speakers list is now closed. And as few or no public comments were received on this item after 5 p.m. today, I suggest we also close the receipt of public comments and move on to hearing closing comments, asking further questions of staff, and to make a decision. So at this time, I invite the applicant, do you have any closing comments to provide? No, thank you. Staff, do you have any closing comments?
Staff.
Okay, thank you. And do council have any additional or final questions for staff? You do have one more opportunity. And I see we have a couple. Okay. Councillor Clark, go ahead, please.
Yes, thanks very much. I just wanted to ask staff, in follow-up to the last speaker, whether or not there has been consideration around traffic volumes, the fact that there is a designated bike route on the road that's intended to be the access point, and whether or not moving it, I think she said to Castle or 21st would make more sense. Has that been considered?
Hello, Councillor Carr. My name is Carol Yee. I'm the development engineer representing engineering. There has been a traffic study that was conducted. It does indicate that the site vehicle trips generated from the site is actually up to 25% less than when the Sunny Hill Health Center was in operation. I would also like to note, in terms of safety, the site is surrounded by a 30-kilometer-per-hour speed limit, so cars would be going slowly. As part of the site, there is enhanced public realm, as well as lighting to add to the safety of the neighborhood.
Okay, good information. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Councillor Carr. And Councillor Zhou.
Yeah, so I'd like to move the recommendation. So, and also make a very quick comments here. So I think you all know I work at
Okay, can I just pause you for a moment there, Councillor Zhou? So I just want to follow the procedure to advise Council will now make a decision on the application. So Councillor Zhou is indicating he would like to move the recommendation. Do we have a seconder?
Second, Councillor Carr.
Councillor Carr. And okay, so now moved by Councillor Zhou and seconded by Councillor Carr. At this point, if there's any debate, you can put yourselves in the queue. And Councillor Zhou, you can go ahead.
Okay, so yeah, so as I mentioned, I think you all know I work at BC Children's.
Sorry, just 1 second. I apologize. The clerks would
No
like to
worries.
switch queues. So if we can move you over there and clear that one. And Councillor Zhou, if you want to put yourself back on, and then others. Thank you. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, okay. There we go. Yeah. So it is a fantastic care team, provide the best care for the sickest children in the province. Every day there are amazing story, touching story happen in the hospital from the patient's family, and from the care provider team as well. So this is a really professional team. And they know what is the best in terms of designing the healthcare facility and then running the hospital. So I think this will be also the first complex care facility for the pediatric patients in Canada. So I'm speaking for myself, but I think the council would all committed to the support healthcare system. I'd like to support this project. I also urge my fellow councillor to support this project as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Zhou. Next, Councillor Boyle, go ahead.
Thanks so much, Chair. I just wanted to really briefly also express my deep enthusiasm about this project. I was fortunate to get to be at the provincial announcement of it a little while ago with Minister Dix and others, and met a number of staff from working in the field, as well as a number of parents who spoke about their own experiences and reliance on these services and their enthusiasm for it. So just really appreciate all of the work that's gone into getting it here. I think we are very lucky, certainly as a neighbor in the area. I feel very lucky that we get to host this exciting new facility and support the kids and families who need these services so badly. Thanks.
Great, thank you, Councillor Boyle. Councillor Carr.
Yeah, I'm also enthusiastically in support of the project, not only because it meets an incredibly important need, but because I think it's got a lot of design features that I think are very responsive to the way we want to develop as a city. Some examples: maximizing the retention of trees, especially the mature trees, the edible landscaping, including community garden. And I really like that addition of an outdoor covered seating area for eating. Really like the green roof, including outdoor amenity space at the roof level. And I do want to encourage, as per my question earlier, that there is a consideration around solar PVC. I see that was, or the answer was that is being explored, but I really want to encourage the solar hot water. I think it's you see it all over Europe, including in countries that have similar climates to ours. And I just think it's the reduction of heating hot water costs would be a real advantage. There's a lot of hot water used in hospitals and in medical facilities. So hopefully that the note was taken. I really hope that there is some thought to pursuing that.
Perfect. Thank you, Councillor Carr. Councillor Dominato.
Thanks, Chair, and echoing some of my colleagues' comments, but a couple of reflections. Just a couple of the callers who called in. Also, I read some of the correspondence around pedestrian and cycling safety, as this comes up with a number of developments. I do appreciate the considerations that were raised there. I did help a family who experienced a loss at Slocan and 20th, and so I appreciate that the public is raising these issues, because we do have to think about developments and not just the development in the site itself, but the surrounding area and public realm. Also appreciative of the integration of the 74-space childcare facility. As we're seeing now, there's significant gaps still in the ability to provide quality childcare in the city. And to have this integrated and included will take us one step further in adding the additional spaces that we've committed to over the next 4 years. And then finally, to the facility itself, very clearly from the comments we heard this evening from families and also from the PHSA, this complex care facility for children and youth is very much needed in our city, but not only in our city, because I know it serves families from around the province. And what I wanted to share is that how proud I am that we are able to have this facility in our city. One of the challenges with a city like Vancouver, and we've seen this with other organizations, both nonprofits, government, and business, is that they outgrow their space and then they're not able to stay within the city boundaries and they end up in other municipalities. And so for us to continue to have this service and a more enhanced service for children, youth, and families that serves not only our immediate community, but also communities around us, makes me incredibly proud. And it is a beautiful space there. And so kudos to the work on this. Thank you for bringing it forward, and happy to support it.
Great. Thank you, Councillor Dominato. So at this point, that concludes any additional comments from council, and will now move us to a vote. Okay. Yeah, okay, can we see? Would you like a vote assist, Councillor Bly? The clerk's asking. Okay, can we get a vote assist in favor for Councillor Bly? Okay, and that does pass unanimously with those present, with Mayor Sim and Councillor Fry absent from the vote. And that does conclude item 1 on our agenda. And we will just take a short pause, just a couple of minutes. We'll just take just 2 minutes to allow our staff team to change over and set up for a second item. So we'll come back in just a couple of minutes. Council. To public hearing of January 19th. We are proceeding with item 2 on our agenda, which is the rezoning for 7057, 7075 Oak Street and 1015 West 54th Avenue. So does any member of council wish to declare a conflict of interest on item 2? Seeing none. I'll ask the clerk now to read the application and the summary of correspondence received.
There's an application by Matthew Chun Architect to rezone 7057 to 7075 Oak Street and 1015 West 54th Avenue from RS1 Residential District to RM-8AN Residential District to allow for a townhouse or row house development with a maximum floor space ratio of 1.2. The General Manager of Planning, Urban Design and Sustainability recommends approval, subject to conditions set out in the summary and recommendation. No correspondence has been received on this application since referral to public hearing.
Thank you very much. And just a note to the public, if there are any speakers for this item who do wish to speak to the matter, please call toll-free this may sound familiar to you, 1-833-353-8610, followed by participant code 1061445# before the close of the speakers list. And again, this phone number is tweeted out at Van City Clerk and available on the live stream. So I think we now have Kathy Joe, rezoning planner, here to present the application. Welcome, Kathy. Let us know when you feel you're set up and ready to go. You're good? Yeah. Okay, fantastic. When you're ready, just go ahead and present the project.
Thank you. Good evening, Deputy Mayor and Council. My name is Kathy Joe, and I'm the rezoning planner for this townhouse rezoning application before you this evening. This application proposes a rezoning for a townhouse under the Canby Corridor Plan, which followed a simplified rezoning process. Since the rezoning is to the RM-8AN district schedule with clear design guidelines and not a customized CD1, no form of development is required at the rezoning stage. This simplified process reduces the processing time for a townhouse rezoning, allowing the application to reach public hearing in a shorter time period than a typical CD1 application. The site is located within the Langara neighborhood of the Canby Corridor Plan. It is comprised of 3 RS1 parcels proposed to be rezoned to the RM-8AN district schedule. The proposal is for stacked townhomes or row houses up to 3 stories with a maximum floor space ratio FSR of 1.20. This application aligns with the Canby Corridor Plan as well as the Housing Vancouver strategy by proposing to contribute to the diversity of Vancouver's housing stock. Townhouse and row house developments provide ground-oriented housing with outdoor space and offer home ownership opportunities for families. There are 3 single detached homes on site and a similar context of detached houses surround the area. To the southeast, across Oak Street, are 2 multiple dwelling buildings zoned CD1. As per policy, the applicant has submitted a tenant relocation plan to the city. The property contains 1 eligible tenant at the time of rezoning submission. In February 2022, the community was notified of the rezoning application through postcard distribution and site sign. Of the 324 postal notifications, 2 comments were received and neighborhood concerns about increased crime and traffic, including loss of parking, the pace of development and increase in density to the neighborhood, and that the development would block out the eastern sunlight were expressed. Further opportunities to provide feedback on the proposed form of development will occur at the development permit stage. In terms of public benefits, a density bonus zone contribution of over $675,000 will be applied should this rezoning application be approved. This contribution would be directed towards the Canby Corridor public benefit strategy. With the addition of the citywide and utilities DCLs, the proposal would provide over $897,000 in public benefits. In conclusion, this proposal aligns with the Canby Corridor Plan and would be one of over 50 townhouse projects approved since the plan's adoption in 2018. Staff recommend approval of this application subject to the conditions outlined in Appendix B of the referral report. Both staff and the applicant team are available to answer any questions. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Is the applicant team here to speak to the application tonight?
My name is Matthew Chang. I'm the architect.
If I can just get you to perhaps speak closer to your device or turn up your volume, you are a bit faint.
My name is Matthew Chang, and I'm the applicant. We are waiting for questions. Okay, thank you.
Okay, do you, at this point, no comments? You'd rather just wait for questions?
Yes, please.
Okay, no problem. Thank you. Are there any questions from council, either to staff or the applicant team? And a reminder, this is your one opportunity to ask questions of the applicant. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions. Going once, going twice. So we will now hear from the public. And if there are any speakers for this item, 1-833-353-8610 is the number to call. The code to be used for participants is 1061-445# before close of the list. We do have one registered speaker this evening. Just ask the clerk to confirm if we have Vic Canna on the line.
Hello, I'm here.
Oh, great. Perfect. We can hear you. Please go ahead up to 5 minutes when you're ready.
Great. I heard an echo. I hear an echo on my side.
We are not hearing an echo here. You sound fine in chambers.
Okay, fantastic.
If you're
So hello, I'm yeah, I can go ahead.
Yeah,
Hello,
no,
I'm
go
Vic
ahead.
Canna, Chair of Vancouver District Parents Advisory Council, and I'm a resident of Vancouver. I really appreciate being here to speak to Council and Mayor in the other category on the rezoning at Oak and 54th. I'm here to speak about, to the policy context, and specifically the policy context missing a school context. And I'm not learned on the exact finer details, so maybe it is including a school context, but I can't find it easily. And I don't see it in all of the materials easily. And then I don't really see a school context in the Vancouver plan nor in the Canby Corridor plan, which are referenced for this rezoning in the policy context. So the issue here is that this rezoning is not going to get a lot of speakers. And there's going to be many, like we're talking hundreds, thousands of rezonings that will be thousands of units, I should say, and not thousands of rezonings, hundreds of rezonings resulting in thousands of units of housing that's going to have kids. So, it's an interesting situation where we're at today. The Ministry of Education and Childcare has a forecast for the Vancouver School District to have 10,083 more students in the next decade. However, the Vancouver School District itself is forecasting a decline of 5,422 kids. So you add that up, and that's like a 15,000 student difference, which is a wide variance. And that will definitely pose challenges to the city of Vancouver when it comes to planning our social infrastructure. The reason why it will pose a challenge to the city is the city receives, in the school context that it does do, so for the context that you guys see in your rezonings, the information is provided by the VSB based on that decline forecast, not the range that could be possible based on the Ministry of Education's forecast. So I'm not here to debate what the right number is and what the right range is. I'm here to have a specific ask of the mayor and council. And that is there merit to having a school space plan be incorporated into the city's social infrastructure plan strategy and the city's Resilient Vancouver strategy. And the reason for that is then I think we would get the answer. We would get the answer. And if I had to say the answer in a layman, parent volunteer fashion, it is really, why can't we align our housing planning with our school planning and create that quality of life in Vancouver, that local neighborhoods, that, creating those communities that build belonging, all those things that are mentioned in the both those city strategies of social infrastructure and of Resilient Vancouver strategy. And you can tell how passionate and in love I am with those two strategies. They're great. And those are the ones that build the belonging and create the society that we want, those complete, sustainable, low-carbon, healthy, walkable communities that we all talk about and strive for. Well, we're only going to get them if we get our schools right. I'm a resource to the mayor and the council, and I am not alone. We have a DPAC facilities committee that is really been at this for 2 years, and the team is phenomenal. We would love the opportunity to present to the mayor and council all together and get into this, because we gotta get our city right, and we gotta get our schools right for that to happen. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with you, and I look forward to many more.
Thank you, Vic, very much for your remarks tonight. You do have questions from Councillor Carr, if you're willing to take them. And I will advance
Of course.
Councillor Carr now. Sorry, you just dropped off, but Councillor Carr, if you want to pop yourself back on and go ahead.
Wonder if you could just add me.
If you just want to, for some reason, the queue dropped you off.
Yeah.
Now you're back on. That's great. Okay, go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks. I really appreciate your raising this issue, in particular in the Canby corridor, where I think there was a lot of attention over the years that I've been watching that development on using the same infrastructure to say that the infrastructure is in place, the social services are in place to allow increased development. So thank you. And yet there has been increased development. I think you're raising a great point. If you've been involved with DPAC, I wonder if you've heard at all about the fact that last term, the school board and city council actually both voted to have a mutual planning committee. So there is now, or there was last term, a school board, city council, capital planning committee looking exactly at the sharing of information apropos of what you've been talking about. Was that news ever shared at the DPAC?
No, that news has not been shared. We do know that and I'm just going to be perfectly straightforward on this. The city and the VSB have signed a data sharing memorandum of understanding for, that's been going on for a couple of years. And the city has met with the school board many, many times. There was an opportunity for the city and the school board to work on the Vancouver plan together. So the work of planning together could have been done. The school board said, no, we don't want to plan with the Vancouver plan. And it was not done. So if there's a reapproachment now and, there's going to be some great planning done together, sign me up. We would be at the table and we would help. We would bridge any kind of gap. We're all in for that. The challenge here is, again, you can see the skepticism in me, right? If we haven't seen a single piece of shred of evidence of the city and the school board doing their work together on data sharing and forecasting, and they have a signed memorandum that's over 2 years old, and we haven't seen a single thing, how do we know that this planning work is going to be done? We'd really rather have, a commitment that the city's social infrastructure plan and the city's resilient Vancouver strategy will have school space planning in them, or at least in one of those strategies or something. But this idea of signing another agreement, and then, years go by and nothing gets done, and we don't see evidence of work is very frustrating, Councillor
So
Carr.
I wonder
Thank you.
if you could email me as a counselor this request. I was one of the liaisons from City Council to that joint planning committee, and I'd be happy to receive your request for information and see what information is available. It was just last term. It would have to be reinitiated by this council, the current council and the current school board, but I'd be happy to share the information about the kind of planning that took place over the last term.
Okay.
So Councillor Carr,
Thank you.
that kind of
We do
information
have,
would
this is a question
be good to share
for
with
the
Deepak.
for the speaker. I do want to guide you to focus. I appreciate that you're tying the planning need into this application, but I do want to guide you to the fact that this is direct questions and answers, and to this specific rezoning application, we do have specific constraints around public hearings, more than council meetings where we have more latitude for discussion. So do you have further questions, Councillor Carr?
No, I'm good.
Okay, thank
I'm
you
just
so much.
responding to
Yeah,
conversation.
and thank you, Speaker. We really appreciate you taking the time to call in and raise those the important considerations. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
You too. Okay, and thank you. Bye bye. And then we do have another speaker who has joined on the phone, Nathan Davidovich. Nathan.
Hello.
Yes.
Yes. Do you hear me?
Yes, we can hear
Yeah.
you.
Okay.
Go ahead when you're ready.
Well, you had some problems last night with so I don't know. Yeah. Thank you very much, Council, for hearing me. I'll just read you the letter that I sent to the new Minister of Housing. Here is a good example why we fall back on providing housing. New city councils were voted in, all promising more housing. However, most of them do not want to reverse bad decision by previous councils. It's the same in Vancouver. Oak Street is a major street in Vancouver. It already had 100 apartment buildings prior to 2008 Vision Council. However, both Mayor Robertson and Stewart have approved about 1,000 new market townhouses for Oak Street area instead of rental apartments. First responders and other people need rental apartment in this area. There are lots of hospitals and private and public schools, and the workers have no close-by housing. It's up to you as a new minister to stop that and to increase the number of rental apartments. So, all we need is slight increase in the floor space ratio from the proposed 1.2 in order to build many affordable as well as market rental apartment on this site. Once the city approves this rezoning, the land value will increase, I understand, by about $5 million. So city council should wait to see if the Minister of Housing will buy this site and show an example of the province committing to rental housing in the city of Vancouver. He said that on Focus BC on January the 6th. That's Global TV, the weekly program. And he finally understood that the previous 5 years, there were mistakes made, and that, and that's why I presume the new premier finally appointed a Minister of Housing after BC had the first Minister of Housing way back in 1974. So that's the problem, and
Nathan,
so it's up to you.
Can I guide you to whether you have comments on this specific project tonight at this point?
Well, as I said, it's not going to provide more affordable rental housing. So, and that's what all the other apartments and most of the other developments on Oak Street are high. Not townhouses, but higher density housing, pretty much everywhere on Oak Street, except a couple of places. But it's a major arterial, and surely we can use more rental apartments instead of market townhouses.
I hear you. Thank you, Nathan. Appreciate you taking the time as always.
Yeah.
Have a good evening.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, us, the staff team, do we have any further speakers on the line at this point?
No further speakers on the line.
Okay, I will do one of my final calls for this item to call toll-free 1-833-353-8610, followed by participant code 1061-445# before close of the list, which is coming up. The phone number is tweeted out on social media and on the live stream. I'm not seeing any speakers in chambers at this point. And I will do that at a further time for 1-833-353-8610 to call in using participant code 1061-445#. And a third and final time for that number at 1-833-353-8610, followed by participant code. Just seeing if anyone's paying attention there, 1061-445#. And that is the third and final call. So at this point, I'm going to suggest, not hearing anyone on the line, that we take a 5-minute recess to provide the final opportunity for members of the public. It's 7:45. We will reconvene at 7:50. Thank you. Back. Seeing as there are no additional speakers that have called in, the speakers list is now officially closed. And as few or no public comments were received on this item after 5 p.m. today, I suggest we also close the receipt of public comments and move on to hearing closing comments, asking further questions of staff, and to make a decision. Does the applicant have any closing comments to provide?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Does staff have any closing comments?
Comments.
Okay, thank you. And council, any questions for staff? Not seeing any questions. Okay, so council will now make
recommendations.
Pardon me?
Are they prepared to move the recommendations?
Yes, I was just gonna thank you, Councillor Carr. Do we have a seconder? Second, Councillor Bly. So moved by Councillor Carr, seconded by Councillor Bly. And at this point, any debate from council? Hearing none, I will ask the clerk to take us to a vote. And I believe we have 2 councillors remaining to vote.
Yes. I wonder if you could vote assist. Is Councillor Carr in favor, please?
Absolutely. And I'm also going to ask the clerk for the same because mine is not registering either. For a vote assist in favor. Thank you. Okay. And that passes unanimously with those present, with Councillor Fry and Mayor Sim absent. So at this point, that concludes the items on our public hearing agenda tonight. Can I have a motion to adjourn? So move Councillor Dominato, seconded by Councillor Claassen. Any opposed? Hearing none, this meeting is officially concluded. Thank you, everybody. Have a fantastic evening.
Thanks everyone. Thanks, staff. Thanks, Chair.